give folks a couple minutes.
Also breaking up a little bit, Coombs, when you're talking.
When I have my video off, can you hear better?
You're a little louder. Still like some background noise, but I can hear you.
Okay. Well, let me see. Maybe I just need to move this closer and not have the baby pulling on it. Is that with the video on? Is that still okay, or is it choppy?
Yeah, now you're good.
Okay, cool. I probably just too far away.
Yeah, these computers really don't have good microphones.
No. We are still waiting for a couple more people. I do unfortunately have to leave early, so we'll go ahead and get started just with the approval of the minutes, and then when our other presenters arrive, we will continue the presentation. So, and Councilmember Marcano will take over when I unfortunately have to leave. So first, approval of the minutes. Any edits from Councilmember Marcano or Medina?
None for me.
Okay, those will stand approved as submitted. And I will just say, since I do have to leave early and won't be able to ask questions or make comments, just thank you to the Immigrant and Refugee Commission for all of your work. Globalfest, being back in person was wonderful, and I know you all have also done a ton of other work related to related to vaccine clinics and small businesses, and really just getting out and working with the community. So thank you all so much for that work. And to staff, I am sorry that I'm missing the cultural affairs presentation, and I will review both presentations since I do to leave early. And I see that we have Chair Vargas with us. You missed my thanking you guys and saying that I apologize that I am going to have to leave early. So we'll go ahead and get started and kick off first with the Immigrant and Refugee Commission annual report with Ricardo Gambetta, Kevin Vargas, and Linda Kelly.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Always is great to be back to your committee. So I just want to introduce Kevin Vargas, the chair of the commission, and Linda Skell, who also is a very active member of the commission. I just want to say thank you so much to all the members of the commission who actually play a very important role in the planning and preparation of Globalfest. So, Kevin.
Yeah, thank you folks for having us. Thank you, council member, for the remarks. I hope everyone was able to attend Globalfest and had a great time. So I appreciate y'all. I think I don't know the numbers, but definitely felt like everyone was eager to be back in Globalfest, and definitely some high numbers on Saturday with great weather and people. And so I definitely saw some of you folks around. So thank you so much for being here. Just a quick introduction. My name is Kevin. I'm the chair of the commission, and I want to give space to one of my commission members, our commission member is Linda. And Linda, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Linda Skelly. I'm a member of the Aurora Immigrant and Refugee Commission for about the past 6 years or so.
So it's been great working with Linda and Ricardo and Minsu, who have done a phenomenal job. So props to them as well for all the work they've done. I don't know who's in charge of the presentation. We could just get right into the presentation and we can start that. Thank you, Minsu. And we already introduced ourselves, so Minsu, we can go ahead and go to the second slide. I believe it's been a while since we haven't discussed exactly with all the pandemic and change of plans and just everything that's going on. We've been trying to, over the past year or so, to kind of adjust and figure out exactly what are we going to do, what kind of efforts are we going to take on throughout our time here as a commission, also in the next 10 years, and how does the city, how do we want the city to look like? How can we continue to protect it? How can we continue to represent all the communities that are in our city, since so many communities are here, and how can we be advocates for these communities? We just want to give a quick rundown of what our 2021 and 2022 goals are in the commission, and how can we continue to support these goals. So goal number one for us is definitely the Aurora Immigration Integration Plan that was released last year to many of you, and I encourage for the folks who haven't read it yet to please do so, as definitely that's the 10-year plan for the city and for our immigrants and refugees here in the city. And so, we talk about civic, economic, and social resources around what our plans are, what we want to shape the city as. And so it's a great integration plan that Ricardo Minsu was able to put together that really shaped the values and morals about what the city's about. And I really encourage y'all. So our goals and what kind of events we want to put on is definitely tied up to what the immigration plan is. And then our second goal is continue to support city initiatives and pursue integration for immigrants and refugees. That includes adults, children, and families. And as you can tell, Globalfest was a prime example of that, where we had families and we had students carrying flags, and we had adults, and we try to represent all of that, and how can we continue to support those communities as well, and just as a family as a whole. Goal number three, support and highlight immigrant and refugee owned businesses and community leaders, especially post-pandemic. We figured that a lot of small businesses are suffering, and they still are, especially because of the pandemic. And so back in 2021, we decided, how can we continue to support small businesses and their in their business? It's what the city thrives on, and it's what makes the city really, and drives the economic backbone to our city. So we decided to make it a goal to continue to pursue working with small businesses. How can we support them? How can we highlight them? And we actually ran a small little program last year in highlighting, where our commission members were able to go to these small businesses, take pictures with them, and highlight them through our social medias. And it was a really cool way for folks to encourage to support these businesses and in our cities. And so we continue to do that. I just saw Councilmember Marcano, who posted online the pamphlet of the small businesses, restaurants that are around the city. And that's something that we would look forward to in partnering, how we can support that, how we can distribute that within our own communities. So we love that, and that's definitely our goal there. Goal number four, educate community members and lift up problems areas of the immigrant and refugee population. How can we continue to support bringing folks to come attend, city council meetings or any type of meetings that affect their communities as well, that we can continue to advocate for the problems and issues that these communities are facing. And that was essentially our goal number four there. And then lastly, goal number five is combat public health and misinformation, aid COVID-19 vaccination, contract tracing, testing efforts, education in public. And on the public health guidance, we know the pandemic is not over. It continues, and we want to continue supporting communities that are in low vaccination rates, We want to continue to dismantle misinformation about the pandemic and give the much possible resources in the city, whether if it's a vaccine clinic, whether if it's talking about booster shots or any type of vaccination coming up. We definitely want to support all those areas, and we have been doing that. And how can we translate our information to all the languages that are spoken in our city? And that's something that we've been doing. The office has been doing in our efforts. So that's essentially still a goal that we want to continue to pursue this year. Into the next slide.
All right, so some of our activities and outcomes around those goals over the past year are what we want to highlight here with you this afternoon. So Councilwoman Coombs referenced this. We promoted a small business grant program, which was designed to support small businesses in Aurora as they try and recover from some of the economic impacts of the pandemic and ensuing economic fallout. Promoting vaccine equity through accessible clinics. This really had a lot of overlap with both our first goal and our fifth goal for the year. So Kevin talked about promoting vaccine clinics, also providing linguistically accessible resources around not only how to access vaccines, but also how to protect folks from transmission. So early in the pandemic, before vaccines were accessible, the office did a lot of work to provide general information about the importance of mask wearing, hand washing, things like that, and offered those in many languages. We shared those information, those resources with community health partners, local community health clinics, Village Exchange Center, other organizations that are serving a lot of immigrants and refugees and folks who are generally best served in languages other than English to make sure that that information was equitable and accessible across our community. We have continuously promoted ESL, English as a second language classes. We have a commission member who's a director of ESL programs at the Community College of Aurora. And so she works with both students and groups within CCA to inform them about various resources that are available to folks in the community, and also getting the word outside of CCA about how to access ESL classes that are suitable and available for people with a range of different like employment and life situations. So classes that are available in the evenings, during the day, classes that are going to be accessible not just to folks who are full-time college students, but really ideally anyone in the community that's interested in participating. One other recent event that we attended was a showing at the Denver Art Museum that was coordinated through SCFD, where they are working to solicit input from community members from a range of communities across the metro area on how to promote accessing arts and cultural activities and facilities within the Denver metro area, and how to make sure that those types of installments and activities are accessible to immigrants, refugees, folks who speak languages other than English. And so we were able to visit the art museum and share some feedback on improving accessibility there. We have a commission member who's been active in promoting a Pathways to Citizenship program, generally sharing that information within the community, making sure folks know how to participate in classes and understand the process for obtaining citizenship for those who wish to do so, and have also attended and supported naturalization ceremony. And finally, for goal number 1 is just representing our commission at a variety of cultural events throughout the year. So through all of the commission members, as well as the office's many connections within the community, we learn about a lot of different events, community meals, dances, things like that, and try to just have a strong presence in the community and be really informed about the types of cultural engagement opportunities that exist across Aurora. Goal number 2, we in order to support existing city initiatives, met and advised with a couple different city organizations and departments. That includes, of course, the Office of International and Immigrant Affairs. We meet monthly with Ricardo and Minsu and also communicate with them in between meetings about any issues that may arise. And we met recently with Parks, Recreation, and Open Spaces, who are working on a long-term strategic plan and improving and enhancing a lot of the park services throughout the community. Our organization, our group had a lot of ideas and input to provide them on different community groups they should be connecting with to make sure that the voices of immigrants and refugees are reflected in this long-term PROS strategic plan. We, a couple of months ago, met with the interim chief of police and also coordinated a second follow-up event that was more of a community forum to connect the Aurora Police Department with immigrant and refugee neighborhoods and communities and raise unique needs and concerns that our community may have to the APD, and also just open lines of communications so that APD knows who to go to with issues that may arise that would impact our immigrant and refugee communities, and also so that we can work with our communities on building trust and making sure that folks are comfortable asking for help and support from the police department when they may need to do so. And of course, for goal number 2, the big one for us is supporting and planning Globalfest, which includes helping to recruit volunteers to run the event, connecting with vendors that may include other nonprofit organizations who want to promote their services at Globalfest, as well as businesses, lots of great immigrant and refugee-owned restaurants in Aurora, of course, and places like that we want to make sure folks know about Globalfest and get a spot there if they'd like to. And then, of course, we help, run activities the day of the event, and had a table and use that as an opportunity to just talk to folks in the community. I had well over a dozen conversations in an hour with folks who just wanted to learn a little bit more about the office. And we're really happy to see that the city of Aurora has an office dedicated to supporting immigrants and refugees. And then we were also able to use that as an opportunity to let folks know about the commission. We have some open spots available and are hoping to find some more engaged Aurora residents to join our work on the commission. Goal number 3, Kevin touched on already. We worked with some local businesses that are immigrant and refugee owned to just sort of highlight their business, promote their services on social media, and are hoping to continue doing some of that and promoting a lot of the great businesses that we have in the city of Aurora. For our 4th goal, we, as a commission, attended a couple different events and community forums to address issues impacting immigrants and refugees. I think the most recent example of this is the forum I referenced with the Aurora Police Department that was open to the public. So these are forums that are designed to be accessible to immigrants and refugees, as well as folks who are working in organizations designed to support civic and economic engagement for those folks, just making sure that people know about those opportunities. We can promote them in a variety of languages, and our commission can also attend and represent and help make sure that voices from everyone in our community are being heard. Another way that we address this goal is one of our commission members has a podcast called Immigration Consciousness, and we've done some interviews on his podcast and also used that as an opportunity or a forum to just share resources with the community, and also let audience members know about different types of forums and events that might be happening across the city of Aurora. And finally, we, in order to support our goal to educate and lift up community members, have just been really dedicated to sharing programs and resources and making sure that each of us as commission members who have different networks. We all have different day jobs. We all have different types of interests and programs that we're involved in. Some of those include Village Exchange Center, the Aurora Community College, African Community Center, local community health centers, sharing resources, sharing information, and networking to make sure that information around programs and services that are designed to support immigrants and refugees are accessible and shared as broadly as possible. Kevin, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I can continue on to our final slide here. So continuation of goals for 2022, 2023. Again, goal number one is just to continue supporting the integration plan. Again, I highly recommend it. If you haven't seen it, please do so, as it all ties up to everything that we do. Really, it's the umbrella of how the office functions and how the commission ends up picking and choosing what's the right thing for immigrants and refugees in our city. Action steps for that is pathway to, we used to have ceremonies and stuff like that for when someone was able to attend their naturalization. And so we want to continue doing that hopefully soon. The podcast that Linda mentioned about, one of our commission members. And most importantly, actually, we have quite a few positions open right now for the commission. So anyone out there, especially to the city council members, is if anyone in your communities that would like to be part of the commission, please refer them to us. We would love them to be part. We know that there's communities that still need to be represented and still need to be in this table sharing and putting the space, being in the space with us so that their communities can be heard. And so we definitely need folks to join this commission. Goal number two, believe it or not, we just finished Globalfest and we're gonna start Globalfest 2023. And so we're about to start that. I know it's crazy. We have to get moving on that, and I'm sure the office will keep you folks updated on that. But Globalfest is a whole team effort. It takes a big process to plan, as you folks see. Hopefully next year we can go bigger. I'm not speaking on behalf of Ricardo Mintz's efforts here, but hopefully we can go bigger because it's just an awesome event for the city and it's just so great to highlight the city. So it's just a great opportunity to do so. Goal number three, keep highlighting businesses. I think that's just very important to get them out of this hump that they're going through, and how can we continue to support them. And education, as we continue, how can we still network with our community, with community leaders, with city council members? How can we meet with you folks later in the year to talk about, what are things that we can support you? What are the things that we can support your communities that are underrepresented, and how can we bring them to the table? And I think we want to continue doing that. So those are our 4 goals as we continue. When the start of 2023, our commission will think about new 5 goals that will continue. So, but for now, these are probably our 4 moving forward. And I believe the next slides are just a couple of pictures. Linda put this together for us, and then Sue, but these are a couple of things that we've done so far. We've been able to meet with the chief, like we mentioned, and we've been able to do Globalfest, and a couple small businesses that opened and attended their opening as well. We had a great opportunity to share with refugee, Ricardo, please correct me if I'm wrong, immigrant and refugee organizations that are on the national level that actually came over here, and we were able to speak with them. And so that was a really cool opportunity. I believe there's more pictures into on the next slide. Globalfest, we were able to do a reception on Friday. I know some of you folks joined us and it was great. I saw most of you folks drinking sake. I don't blame you. So it's awesome and great. It was a great time and I'm happy you folks joined. But this is the stuff that we continue to do so. So thank you so much, y'all, for your support. As please continue to do so. If you have any questions or concerns, let us know. But I know that now we're going to open the table up to any questions that the group might have.
Thank you so much again for being with us. And since I don't have to hop off just yet, I will just repeat the really big thanks to you all for all the work that you do. Baby was chilling, and now that I'm talking, they're like, no. All the work that you do for Globalfest, but also just the day-to-day really being plugged into the community. I think not all commissions necessarily function in such an engagement as you all do. And so I just really appreciate the efforts that you put forward to stay constantly plugged in and active, and promoting and supporting people in our community. And I really don't have any questions. Certainly my door is open. Please contact me for meetings, to talk about next steps. And with that, I will pass it over to Councilmember Marcano to give his comments, and also I will come up. So he will now chair the meeting. So thank you.
All
Thank
right,
you,
thank you,
Councilmember.
Councilmember Coombs. All right, I hope your day goes well. Yeah, I just want to echo Councilmember Coombs's comments that she already made. Y'all crushed it with Globalfest. It was a really great event. I think people were really, really excited to be out and about again after, this is the first one in 3 years, right? So we went without for quite a while, and I think y'all met that demand. So thank you so much for the work you put into that. And I do have a question pertaining to Globalfest, because you said something that caught my attention. That was, we're going to go bigger. So how are we going bigger? And my second question, maybe could pertain to this. How do we get Puerto Rican representation on here?
Yeah, definitely.
I want to see my bandera in the lobby. Okay, so
I agree, Councilmember. I think I spoke.
Kevin's going to be in trouble for that comment now.
I was gonna say, I think I spoke too soon, but let's just say the commission is gonna push for more, and we'll support as much as possible. But I will not speak on behalf of the office in Ricardo Mincy. So, Ricardo, I don't know if you want to answer that one there.
Well, we need to start with the planning for next year. So thank you so much for your feedback. And probably we need to review the policy about, international flags in the lobby. We're putting together actually a new policy. So we are looking forward to get your feedback and input. So I promise next time we're going to have the Puerto Rican flag.
Okay, very good.
We're on record now.
I would also say too, I mean, yeah, there was definitely some community members who, they asked us, why isn't our flag up there and stuff like that. So I know Minsu does a great job communicating. So if there is a community out there that needs that, please communicate with Minsu and tell them to actually communicate with her. Sometimes it's just the one email and then we don't hear from them at all. So it would be great if they can continue doing that. But yes, the more representation, the better.
All right, great. And I just want to offer my support. So anything that I can do to help y'all as you're planning for next year, please don't hesitate to reach out, because I think it's a great program. I think it's one of the best things we do as a city. It's a huge draw, not just for our residents, or for folks in the surrounding metro. So that's what I want us to, be known for. So please reach in if you need any help. All right, Councilor Medina.
Thank you, Councilmember Marcano. Yes, I'll just echo what my colleagues have said. Yeah, it was a great event. I was glad to be able to go. Like I said, it was great food and great entertainment there at the ceremony, and certainly Goldfest went well. I mean, to echo kind of what you're saying about going bigger, I've asked that question before. When it was Kid Spree, I think we need to bring it back and make it 3 days. That way we can attract more people, and it's consecutive, and then we can also maybe even rotate some more people to come through, other vendors that may not have an opportunity on one day because of conflicts or something, and that way we can just have a whole event that's dedicated to that. So we have multiple days that people can attend and enjoy their time. Yeah, let me know how I can help. I've done a lot of programs. I sit on the Welcome Center board, which works with immigrant refugees as well. So anything I can do on that end, let me know. I have worked with APD in the past with immigrant issues around policing. So I'm open to do that. We in Northwest Aurora, where I was at, we used to have 5 different groups: Burmese, Bhutanese, Somali, Spanish and English speaking community groups that would come together once a month with simultaneous headphones, and they would talk about issues collectively in those communities, just to bring different communities together so they can see that they may have similar issues or maybe issues that they're not aware of in their communities. And it also brings communities together that maybe not always coalesce together. And we had that around food. And it was very well attended. And I mean, I'm willing to bring that back. I have the template of how to do that. We also used to do some things in Fletcher Plaza where we would have mock scenarios of, here's what you need to know about if you get pulled over, by a policeman for in a car or walking. And we did those in their languages as well. So yeah, I'm open to do whatever. I'm also have opportunities to engage people in our programs that I do in my other job. So we work around the social determinants of health. We offer those classes for free for anybody that wants to take those particular classes, and we can provide interpretation if we know ahead of time. And there's also grants, small community grants I have access to that maybe they may not know about, but that may be of help to some of the residents as well.
That'd be great. Thank you, council member.
And thank you both again for the presentation and for all the work you do with the committee.
Thanks to all of you.
Thank you.
All right. So next up on our agenda, I believe is 5B, Cultural Center presentation, and that's going to be Midori Clark, I believe, and Laura Perry. So I'll let y'all have the floor.
Hi, thank you so much. Really appreciate the opportunity to be here and share a little bit about the history of cultural complexes, arts centers, etc. I do not have the sharing capability. Thank you.
There you go.
So we have just a couple of things to share with you all today. Just want to start with a little bit of history, a little bit about what's currently happening with cultural services, and then some exciting plans that we have for the future that relates to an arts center. See if I can get this to move. So we wanted to start a little bit about the history. This is actually a movement that's been going on for quite some time in our community. And lucky for us at the city, we have binders and binders and binders of hard copy papers that outline the history of how this has all been kind of convening throughout the ages. So what we find in our research is in the late 70s, the idea about the Aurora cultural arts concept, this idea is introduced kind of into the community. And there was actually a ballot question in 1979. This is the first time we see this popping up for a 100,000 square foot 500 seat theater. And you'll see the note there. It didn't pass, which you might have guessed, because if it had passed, we would have it. But at the time, it did not pass. So it got a little bit quiet for a while. And then in 1992, a new citizen task force was created to take a look at different kinds of capital projects and possibly future bond issues. So at that time, an 82,500 square foot performing arts center, visual arts center was reviewed and not included later. In 1996, the next wave of the effort came forward with the Citizen Cultural Complex Initiative, or the CCCI. City Council did create this task force, and this committee was tasked with doing a feasibility study. They went through a lot of process, which we'll kind of outline a little bit later, but at that point in time, they were looking at a 400 square foot $69 million complex, not a center, but a complex that would include a performing arts center, a brand new history museum, and an expanded central library. So big thinking at that time. And then in November of 1997, this original 5-story cultural arts complex, this huge 400,000 square feet thing, included a 600-seat theater, a 2,200-seat auditorium, a black box theater, art gallery, museum, banquet room, city staff offices, and commercial office space. This was the concept that was kind of pitched and actually designed. And I didn't put it in this presentation, but I do have the hard copy presentation. I think I might have emailed it to you guys, maybe not, but I've got like a floor plan for this as well, which is kind of fun. So in the late 90s, City Council did approve the CCCI to move forward with the community survey. That was completed in 1999. And they also began a financial and management study to see how they might be able to make this complex happen. So in 2002, they did present the final financial and management study to council. And as you might not be surprised, the project was scaled down quite a bit. So from that initial concept, the big kind of 2,200 seat theater, it was scaled down to a $24 million project that would include a 500 to 600 seat theater, as well as almost 11 million for a new museum and about $8 million for the central library expansion. The study also found that the Cultural Services Division should continue to offer arts programming, which is very popular in our community and which we do quite a bit of. In 2002, a little bit later that year, there was an ordinance also passed by council to refer a ballot question to voters, actually 3 different ballot questions to voters, to build this cultural center, this newly scaled down version of the cultural center, to build the new museum, as well as to expand the central library. And again, at that time, the ballot measure failed. All 3 of them failed. And then that kind of brings us to today. We haven't had as serious or like as I guess concrete of discussions as like passing ordinances and referring ballot measures. But as you all know, today the discussion continues, and we've seen, you know, several different groups throughout the city, several individuals kind of bringing this idea up. So that's a little bit about what's happened in the past. Currently, our cultural services unit consists of 4 different programs. We do have 19 full-time employees and several additional arts instructors. I think our total for the cultural services division, just the bodies, not only the full-time, is somewhere around 70 people. So we have about 50 instructors that do things like teach arts education. That could be any number of these classes that include pottery, ceramics, theater, different kinds of music, which include keyboard, ukulele, kinds of fun things like that, visual arts like drawing, anime, as well as our dance group, the Aurora Dance Arts team. They teach additionally dance classes all over the city, mostly at different rec centers throughout the city. And we have hundreds of students that are enrolled in these dance classes and perform all throughout the city. You guys probably saw them if you went to like the holiday lighting event. That's a very popular place where they perform, and we always get a lot of good feedback about it. Also, our Fox Arts Center is another component of our Cultural Services Division. It is our current performing arts venue that we have in the city. And I do like to talk about it because a lot of times I think when we are talking about a new center, we forget to include the discussion that there is currently a performing arts center in our community, and it is the Fox. They are getting ready to kick off their 38th season in September. And then our 4th component of our Cultural Services Division is the Aurora History Museum and Historic Sites. And they are also doing lots of cultural programming throughout the year. In fact, they have partnered with Ricardo and that office repeatedly to do things like the Salvadorian exhibit, as well as their most current exhibit that they did jointly was like the Mosaic of Cultures, which is a celebration of different kinds of Latin cultures that exist within our community. So that takes us kind of into the future and where we're headed. We have really exciting initiatives that are coming up. If you didn't know, there is a cultural arts plan for the city of Aurora that this division is charged with implementing. It did expire in 2020, the current version. And the Cultural Affairs Commission, who I think gave their annual report, I think it was 2 months ago, will be working on updating this plan for the city. There is a consultant that we're planning to hire to work with the commission and also with the public, gathering feedback and input so we can really create a future vision for what does cultural arts look like in our community moving forward. As part of this 2022 update, we are also planning to host some collaborative sessions with subject matter experts. We really hope the CABC folks will join us, as well as our own Cultural Affairs Commission will be there to discuss and explore different kinds of cultural and entertainment venues. Another piece of that could be the panel of Front Range Arts Center and venue managers. I think there's been a lot of information, but maybe we haven't pulled everybody together to meet with folks that are currently doing this work, to hear from municipalities and places that are actively managing these types of venues. I participate with the Front Range executive directors of arts venues, and I know that my colleagues in this group would be happy to work with us or at least share information about what their experience has been. Again, just as education, so we can know more about how much money it costs to start something like this, how much it costs to keep it going, what the subsidies are, etc. And then we would like to plan some additional work sessions specifically related to venues that will inform our cultural arts plan and have a section within our plan that addresses that. Laura, am I missing anything?
No, I think you covered it well. I think the goal here with the cultural arts plan update is to really, everyone has so many great ideas across the city, and there's so many folks talking about this, is let's get everyone at the table. Let's get everyone aligned, sharing ideas and collaboratively working to inform the cultural arts plan, which could have objectives and other references related to the work of these groups together through these working sessions.
Thank you. And that is what we have prepared today, and I'm happy to take any questions.
All right. Well, thank you both so much for that presentation. And I have to say, it was, thank you for the history there specifically. I didn't realize that we had really been discussing this for what, 41 years?
Decades.
Yeah. And I have to say, like, that just makes me feel more committed towards actually getting this to happen finally. So I know that we've gotten, some suggestions from the CABC to like utilize the old theater and the mall, since there's a lot of existing space there that might be, convertible into something that we've been trying to accomplish, or at least something that would fit into some of the visions previously. But I guess I kind of want to know, like, aside from just a lot of different folks having separate discussions here and there, and like, as you mentioned, some cool ideas coming up, we haven't put together like a formal RFP or anything like that in recent memory, right? I think what you sent over was like in 2000, 2002, if I'm not mistaken. So it's been
That's
almost
correct.
20 years since like the city really took like I feel like a concrete step to try to make this happen.
Yeah, and I think that's what's really exciting about kind of the momentum that we're getting right now, coupled with this idea that we're getting ready to update the arts plan, because I think it's a perfect way to explore these topics, within the context of what is the vision for cultural arts for our community. So we've got some unique opportunities here, I think, to really, like Laura is saying, just get everybody at the table and kind of talk through some of the ideas. I know, like this idea for some kind of a commercial concert venue, let's explore that. Let's get the subject matter expert here. Let's have somebody from AEG, from Live Nation come talk about what that looks like, how much the investment is, so we can really start to get a little more facts and figures around a lot of the great ideas, and then, work with some kind of third-party consultant to see which of these concepts makes the most sense coupled with like feedback from the community and the future direction and vision for cultural arts.
Yeah. Hang on a second. I'm trying to dig something up here. So while I'm doing that, Councilor Medina, I'll go ahead and if you have any questions or comments, I'll give you the floor.
Thank you, Councilmember Marcano. Yeah, I mean, you know, I kind of ran on this too in my campaign, so I'm definitely in support of trying to put something. Obviously, want to be a little more greedy, and I prefer to have it in my ward. Just because I feel, you know, we need something that's centrally located because we have all the infrastructure there with light rail and bus and hotels and food, and I just think it'd be a good opportunity to also create an opportunity for have a walkable place, right? If we have something that's centrally located, people can park one time, I hope, and then go around and just see all the different things in one area, one specific area, from the mall to, you know, to this venue. Also, are you looking at a specific location, or do you have something in mind? If you were,
No, I don't think so. You know, there have been a variety of locations that are proposed, and kind of my feeling on this, and Laura, if you have different ideas, please let me know. But for me, it's more about just kind of going into it with an open mind and seeing what the community is really looking for and what their thoughts are about this. I know from our perspective, we have a very great staff need for classroom space. So like I mentioned, we have we have hundreds of kids. I think it's like 500 students enrolled in these dance classes, and we don't have a school of dance. We're very dependent on whether or not Parks and Rec will give us the space to conduct our programming. And it was a big problem during the pandemic. You know, it's not a secret, and it's nothing against pros. I think it's just a hard collaboration at different times. So we have a need for classroom space to teach dance classes. And then additionally, and I mentioned we have like 50 instructors that also teach all of those different arts classes and music. You know, we're conducting those at a lot of our library locations, at the rec centers, and then also in this studio space at Central Library that was originally a TV studio. So it was like never set up for classrooms. And, you know, so from our perspective, having a place where at least those kinds of classes can take place and we can generate revenue for the city and we can offer this stuff for our community members is really important. But I'm really just kind of going into this, Council Member Medina, with a very open mind and just kind of like saying, how can we come together and coalesce around something that the community can support? Because as you've seen, there have been several ballot measures that failed. And I think that's kind of the thing, you know, we always worry about is we don't want to propose something that one group thinks is awesome, but the rest of the voters aren't really going to be able to get behind. So I think it's trying to find that. So no, very long answer to your question. I'm not attached to any location at all.
And if I can add, Midori, I think Councilmember Medina, the first step is really to seek alignment on the various visions and ideas and needs in the city and have a conversation under, as Midori said, the umbrella of the cultural arts plan and the vision for the city that will be laid out in that plan. That's really the first step. And then from there becomes a conversation around, you know, windows of opportunity in the city, if there's a partnership or, you know, other ways to advance the objectives that are in the plan, which, as Midori said, there will be, the hope is a page that talks about facility needs. And that could be through existing facilities, depending again on this conversation alignment, or a new facility. I think all of that is to be discussed through upcoming working groups.
no, I certainly agree. I mean, I agree with Midori too, and I know, having worked for pros and had many of the dance groups in facilities I ran, so I certainly know the crux of that, of time and not having the space dedicated, and I certainly understand that, and I certainly want to try to bring something, I think, that, you know, satisfies everyone, so to speak, more or less. You're obviously not going to satisfy every single individual, but I think we can, you know, design something that I think that's lucrative for everyone, and everybody would want to be, you know, participated. So you'll have my support on whatever that looks like, and however I can push, I'm going to push on that end as well. And I'm going to look into some other ventures and people that I'm connected to maybe there's potential money that can help, lend that ways too and make it a little bit easier, the pathway a little bit easier. Because I know money's always the issue, but to me, I always don't look at it that way. I'm glad that you guys are doing a plan because I think that's how the money gets attracted. If we design something that's great that people want, they can get on board with, then I think that's how you sell that. And I'd be happy to do that at my town halls and do whatever, excuse me, do whatever I need to do to help promote it. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Medina. And Midori, could I get sharing permission from you?
Yeah.
Thank you.
How do I do that?
Thank you. All right, there we go. That works.
Oh, I
So
didn't do
just,
anything.
yeah. So Laura, I think you've seen this already, but I just wanted to show this to Midori as well, because I think this is very much in line with what Councilmember Medina was just talking about. So this is from a presentation that I put together after International Making Cities Livable last year when we went to Carmel, Indiana. And this is just a comparison of where Carmel City Center was and ours in 1999. And this is what it looks like today, the two same sites. And this is actually out of date now. All this construction is basically finished. And this right here is their Performing Arts Center. That was the major anchor and catalyst really for the redevelopment of that whole area. And you can see ours is just basically, we have the Arapahoe Douglas Works building and a bunch of parking lots. So, and they did this by taking a really assertive approach, buying up parcels of land as they became available. They did use eminent domain sometimes as well to put together their bike path here. That's like a big regional attraction now. But this really was like the heart and soul of their city center. And this is why, this is what gets me excited every time I look out the window here, basically, because we still have all this tremendous opportunity across the way. And, I represent Ward 4, but I agree with Councilmember Medina. I think Ward 3 is the logical place for a performing arts center since it's in the heart of our city next to transit, the highway, and most of our population is kind of centered around this area. So obviously I want to get community feedback in terms of what amenities we want to see for a performing arts center, what we want the surrounding area to look like. But I just see so much potential right outside of our campus. And the Palladium there, let me see if I can show you what it looks like. Yeah, that's the interior of it. It's a gorgeous, like state-of-the-art performing arts center and concert hall that then connects right here to the trail. This is the bike path that I was mentioning. So I really think, especially for a city of our size, like Carmel's a suburb of Indianapolis, about a third of our size, and we don't have anything that even comes close. So yeah, I would really like to see us move sooner rather than later on that. And again, just the potential is just right there. So whatever we can do to move that process along. And I'm wondering with the, previous failed attempts, I think the attitude of our residents has changed. I think a lot of people do feel like we're a big city without really like an identity, right? Or like a central kind of like amenity like that. And something like that I think would really help bring our community together and allow us to kind of like step into our role as one of the biggest cities in the country. It doesn't always feel like that, but we're so darn huge. And the other is, I don't know if folks were like really given examples of what it could look like. I don't know how well that was like necessarily marketed, to our community members. And I think there's a ton of really great examples, not just from Carmel, but from all across the country of like what, having a great performing arts center and like a city core can really do for a community from an economic development standpoint, from a cultural arts standpoint, and more. So yeah, as you can tell, I have a lot of opinions about this. It's something I'm very passionate about.
Well, and I think something that could be different, this time around too, is I think everyone's really focused kind of on that theater, which is great, but it costs a lot of money to program a theater. But I think being able to focus also on the classroom spaces and talking about that we do have a staff need for that we can, because the concert hall, the theater itself is not going to be used every day out of the year, right? It's not a space that you know, we won't have enough money to be able to program it every day
Right.
of the year. But we do currently already have enough staff and enough customers to program a classroom space pretty much every day of the year. So, you know, maybe being able to talk about it more in terms of that as well. I think everyone gets focused on the theater and having concerts and going to shows, and that's awesome. But I think maybe this time around having an opportunity to explain more about how it benefits a lot more people than that every day of the week, just by, you know, being able to bring all of our students into a place and like offer our classes to more students, which is really important. So
No,
just
and I
throw that in
completely
there.
agree with that. And that's my fault that I didn't hit on that as well when I was talking about the Palladium, because part of what honestly took my breath away when I stepped in there was just like the majesty of that main performing arts hall. But it is it's a multi-level building. It has classroom space, programmable space throughout. And the way it was explained to us is that they don't just do public performances there. There's private performances that like traveling orchestras and other troops and theater, you know, groups that do things there. So they have shows really, really frequently, if not like every weekend, basically. So it actually has become like a bit of a revenue generator for the city as well. Granted, the building itself was also exceptionally expensive, but as I don't know if you got a good look at the outside of it there, but it's like a granite building that's going to last like 1,000 years or something like that. So they spared no expense on the exterior facade. But yeah, so the other amenities that you were describing, absolutely, it has to be a huge part of, you know, anything that we try to put together. And I think that we can make the case for that as well to our residents.
We
Oh, one thing
use,
I wanted to
oh yeah,
mention too, sorry, because after our last IMCL in France, I did speak with Mayor Brainerd of Carmel, who this was like basically his baby. He's you know, he's been mayor there for like 30 years, and he basically got the political will and, you know, public-private partnerships were appropriate to actually build out their town center and their performing arts center. And when I asked him, you know, like we have some tension on our council, but I think that we agree that we need a performing arts center and that, you know, we need to have like a proper downtown. Would you be willing as a Republican to come, you know, talk to us and kind of show us how you did this, maybe talk to our staff, bring your staff? And he said he would be open to the idea. So if y'all are interested, I can reach back in, you know, because this is, their success has been within the last decade. So it's pretty fresh. So if you're interested, I can make those introductions as well, because I would really love to see us actually like start moving in this direction, as I mentioned, sooner rather than later. I think it's time.
that could also be one of the workshops under the cultural arts plan umbrella. I don't know, Laura, what your thoughts
Yeah, I
are
was just
about an
thinking
idea
that.
like
Yeah,
that.
if you wouldn't mind sharing his contact information.
Yeah, for sure.
And then I just also wanted to say we use that same model to program the Fox. So we have original content that we produce at the Fox, but then we also have lots of private shows that come in as well. And the revenue does offset the subsidy. I do, you know, I always like to just kind of remind people though that it's not like that revenue doesn't typically pay to run the center,
Mhm.
but it does provide revenue to offset the subsidy.
Yep.
And we have rentals in there every weekend that we're not doing our own shows. It
Okay.
is rented out.
Good. All right. Yeah, well, I just want to thank y'all for the presentation and for the discussion. I think as you can tell, there's a lot of interest. I know Councilmember Coombs is very interested in this as well. So yeah, we're more than happy to be part of the, you know, ongoing conversation. And yeah, just let us know if there's anything that you need from council to kind of move things along as well.
And Councilmember Marcano should mention, once we convene everybody, we have the conversations, and of course we get through the cultural plan update, we'll bring it back to the and update folks on the recommendations and the plan and the outcomes of those conversations. So we'll keep you all informed as we progress forward.
All right, great. Well, thank y'all so much for your work on this so far and the work yet to come. All right, so moving on, I think we're into miscellaneous items for consideration. Does anyone have anything they'd like to share? I see Kim.
Thank you. Councilmember Marcano, you already did it, but thank you for showcasing Aurora Eats. It is out. We have a nice digital version of it now. Thank you, Vanna. And so we're very excited. It's our ethnic and independent restaurants in town, breweries, markets, and we did something a little different this year. My vision for this has always been to say, go have a meal at this great restaurant, learn about the national dish or cuisine. Here's a recipe, go to this market, buy the ingredients, and go home and make it for yourself. And so we've kind of started to enter into that concept. So there are fun things about how to drink like a local and flatbreads and, eating with your hands. And so we tried to build it out a little bit more than we had in the past. So we're very proud of that. And we'll be distributing around town cards that have a QR code on the back. And then we do have hard copies available as well. So thank you for premiering that for us.
You bet.
Thanks.
And I was going to ask, actually, can I get like 20 or 30 of these for my next board meeting?
Yes,
Awesome. Thank you.
happy to. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Any other miscellaneous items? All right. Seeing none, let's confirm our next meeting. Staff, could you help me out here?
Councilmember Marcano, our next meeting is on September 28th.
Okay, September 28th. Does that work for you, Councilor Medina?
Yes.
All right, great.
And at this time, we don't have anything on the agenda, so.
Okay. All right, so we can just leave it as a placeholder for now. And I believe this time normally works for Councilmember Coombs. So it's like, I think as long as it makes it onto our calendars and WebEx doesn't cause any issues, we should be good.
Yes, I'm sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
Today,
yeah,
new today, so.
No worries. I know we've had that issue with a couple of committees now. I'm not sure what's going on with WebEx, but all right. So with our next meeting confirmed, we will be adjourned. Thank you all so much for your time today, and have a great rest of your afternoon and evening.
Thank you,
Take
guys.
care.
Good day.
Thank you. Bye.